Title: My wife called her ring this old thing. That old thing ended our whole marriage. I never imagined that a single phrase could shatter 15 years of my life. My name is Ryan, and I had been married to Olivia for 14 years. We had ups and downs, but I believed in us, believed in the life we built together, the home, the kids, the routine that felt safe. It was a quiet evening, one of those rare moments when Olivia and I were both home without the distractions of work or errands. She pulled out a small, familiar box from her jewelry drawer. My heart gave a small skip. I had bought that ring years ago, during the time when I thought love could solve anything. But the words she said next were like ice water poured over my chest. Oh, this old thing? I barely even notice it anymore. I froze. The casual dismissal, the lack of sentiment, the cold tone. It was more than just a comment about jewelry. It was a mirror reflecting the truth I had been avoiding for years. She didn't see me. She didn't care about the little things that had once defined us. That ring, our symbol of commitment, was meaningless to her now. I wanted to react. I wanted to shout, to plead, to remind her of everything we had endured together. But instead, I felt a strange calm settle over me. That old thing, our symbol of forever, had quietly, irrevocably ended what I had thought was unbreakable. I realized then that it wasn't just about the ring. It was about everything it represented. Loyalty, love, attention, shared dreams. And all of it had eroded quietly, day by day, until this one phrase exposed the fracture lines I had refused to see. The next morning, I sat across from her at the breakfast table, our children still asleep. I asked softly, "Olivia, is this really where we are? Where we've ended up?" She looked up, surprised, maybe even annoyed that I dared question her casual attitude. "Ryan, it's just a ring. Don't make a big deal out of it." But it was a big deal. It wasn't just about the ring. It was about a lifetime of small dismissals, ignored emotions, and fading love. I realized that if I didn't act, if I didn't confront this reality, I would wake up one day to find that my entire marriage had crumbled while I waited for her to notice. That day, I made a decision. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't plead. I would face the truth, however painful, and protect what mattered most: my dignity, my children, and what remained of the life I could still salvage. The days that followed were heavy. Olivia tried to act as if nothing had happened, but the tension in the air was undeniable. I could see it in her glances, the slight defensiveness when she spoke, and the way she avoided certain topics. That phrase, "this old thing," hung over us like a shadow, a constant reminder of what had already begun to crumble. I focused on our children, trying to maintain normalcy. I didn't want them to sense the instability, but inside, my heart was in turmoil. I remembered every moment when I had given my all. Every anniversary, every small surprise, every effort to keep the spark alive. And yet, here we were, reduced to words dripping with indifference. One evening, while our kids were at a friend's house, I confronted Olivia. I asked, "Do you even care anymore? About us? About this family?" She shrugged, nonchalant. "Ryan, I've just moved on. It doesn't mean I don't care about the kids." Her words hit harder than any argument ever could. She separated her emotions from the life we had created. Her dismissal was not out of malice, but apathy. And that was worse. I realized then that love cannot survive in a vacuum of indifference. It requires attention, effort, and respect. That night, I made the call I had been postponing for weeks. I spoke to a lawyer, detailing the situation, discussing custody, and preparing for what I knew was inevitable. It wasn't revenge, it was foresight. I couldn't control her feelings, but I could control how I responded to them. I would not let the apathy that had destroyed our bond dictate the future of my children. As I hung up the phone, I felt a mix of sorrow, anger, and relief. Sorrow for the years lost, anger at the quiet erosion of our marriage, and relief that I was finally taking steps to reclaim my life. I understood that sometimes the small dismissals, the old thing comments, the lack of acknowledgement, the casual neglect, speak louder than any fight. They reveal the cracks that no apology can repair. I spent the next few days preparing myself emotionally for the next step. I wasn't naive. I knew Olivia would resist, would protest, and perhaps even try to guilt me. But I had grown tired of waiting for her to realize what was already clear. The marriage we had once cherished no longer existed in her heart. I was done pretending. When the day finally came to face the reality of divorce, Olivia seemed startled. She hadn't expected me to move so calmly, so decisively. I met her in the living room, where years of memories lingered. Photos of vacations, family portraits, and small trinkets that had once symbolized love. I let the silence stretch for a moment, letting the weight of the situation sink in. Olivia, I began, steady and measured. We need to accept the truth. This marriage isn't what it used to be, and it isn't what it needs to be, for either of us. I've realized that indifference can destroy what years of love built. And that old thing, the ring, the symbol of what we promised each other, just showed me how far we've drifted. Her eyes welled up, a mixture of guilt, regret, and disbelief. Ryan, I didn't mean for it to get this far. I know, I said softly, but meaning doesn't repair what's broken. Actions matter. And the choices we've made, or ignored, have led us here. We discussed the practicalities calmly. Custody of our children, finances, the routines they depended on. I stayed firm but compassionate, ensuring our kids' stability remained the priority. There was no yelling, no blame games, just an acknowledgement that the life we had envisioned together had ended, and it was time to rebuild from separate paths. Over the following weeks, I focused on my children and my own healing. Olivia tried to reconnect, to explain, to appeal to old feelings, but the emotional distance she had cultivated over the years was now irreversible. Every attempt only confirmed the truth I had long feared. The foundation of our marriage had crumbled quietly, in moments of dismissal, neglect, and indifference. Watching my kids laugh, helping with homework, tucking them into bed, I realized the real loss wasn't just the marriage. It was the illusion that love alone could survive without care, attention, and mutual respect. That old thing, the symbol of our vows, had indeed ended our marriage, but it also sparked a clarity I desperately needed. I learned that some relationships cannot be repaired, not because love is absent, but because one side stops showing up emotionally. And in those moments, the right choice, though painful, is to let go, protect those who depend on you, and rebuild a life grounded in awareness, responsibility, and truth. That night, as I looked at the empty space where our ring once sat, I understood. Endings are never easy, but clarity, decisiveness, and protecting what truly matters, the children, your dignity, your life, can turn a painful ending into a necessary beginning.